Hey guys, Miss Parnell back for our next set of notes. This is going to be on civil. This is the third one. So we've done types of law, we've done criminal law, and now I'm going forward really fast to get us to civil law. All right, so civil law, remember I was talking about earlier, this is when a crime has not been committed. So a person didn't break the law here, but like there's still a dispute, right? There's an argument, there's a disagreement. I say this, you say that. Whose fault is it, right? Which one of us is lying? Who really needs to be the one to pay for this? That type of thing. So the purpose of this is that the plaintiff claims to have suffered and they're seeking damages. So if I sue you, I'm the plaintiff, and I'm saying that you damaged me, okay? Financially, emotionally, physically. There's a bunch of different ways that someone can be damaged. Like, if you and I got into an automobile accident and like I got whiplash and my medical bills and they're $5,000 and I think you should pay it because you're the one who read the red light. You could have already gone through like the criminal steps, like, I got a ticket, blah, 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 blah. But then I could sue you, right? And try and make you pay for my medical bills. That's civil. So I'd have to show that I was damaged. I told you about the instance with my phone. We're in class, you knock it off, I sue you. It was property damage. Same thing with my car. If a tree fell on my car and I tried to sue you because it was your tree, that I was talking about earlier, that would also be damage. That's property damage. There's a bunch of reasons why people sue someone. So the plaintiff is trying to say there's damage, and I thought there was, yeah, here it goes. The person is trying to say there's damage, and the defendant is trying to say why either A, there's no damage, they're lying, or B, there might be damage, but it's not my fault. Like their car really is messed up, but it's not my fault the tree fell on it. You know what I'm saying? So damages are payment for the suffering. So negligence is a fancy word for being careless. So in the case of like me and you with the tree, so just to recap, me and the example I gave, me and your next door neighbors, I parked my car, your tree's over here, storm tonight, your tree falls on my car, crushes my car, $2,000 worth of damage. I think you should pay for it because it was your stinking tree that fell. All right. If I proved negligence, to prove negligence, I would have to prove you're being careless. Like you knew that tree was dead and you just were too lazy to get it chopped down, or the city came out and said, yo, that tree's leaning, it's really bad, it's going to fall and hurt your neighbor, you need to get it fixed. And you wouldn't do it, kind of like laziness. That's negligence. Like when I said the thing about Burger King, if I walk into Burger King and I slip and fall on their wet floor because they just mopped, I could prove negligence if I said, y'all were too careless to put out that little yellow thing. You had the little yellow triangle things, like, whoa, slip floor. Maybe I wouldn't have come in there running and twisted my ankle or whatever. So negligence is just when that damage occurs. It could be injury, it could be death, it could be whatever. And it's because of carelessness, basically. Sometimes it's because of something wrongful or hurtful, and that would be tort. That's if someone does something wrongful or hurtful. Again, not illegal. There's plenty of things that are bad that they're not illegal. So like, for instance, it's not illegal to cheat on your spouse, right? But I think we would all agree it's bad. It's pretty hurtful. It's pretty wrong. So if someone was getting divorced, they could sue someone for tort, or, they could sue the mistress, or, something like that, saying you came in and wrecked my marriage and stuff like that. You're being wrong and hurtful and mean and bad. Again, it's not illegal, but it's not good. So types, like I said, personal injury, that'd be like me going into Burger King and slipping and falling. That'd be like we got in an automobile accident and I my neck hurt or something. Property is like, my cell phone is my property if it gets smashed, or my car or something like that. There's domestic, like I said, people who get divorced go through civil law, and sometimes they sue each other. It could be a nasty divorce over children, custody, money, property, houses, cars, money, you name it. Probate down here, probate is a fancy word for like wills, like when people die, like their will and their estate. So let's say you and I are brother and sister, whatever. I don't know who's watching this. We're siblings, right? And our first parents already died, and our second parent's like in the hospital, like she's about to die. And you were the good sibling. Like you took care of mom. You lived there, you were great. And mom, she probably should have left it all to you, but she's a good lady and she decides to 50-50. She still loves me too because I'm her kid, even though I'm not as good of a child as you were. But let's say I'm a really not good person, right? And I sneak into the hospital and I get mom. I tell her she's signing this thing for my work and she signs it. What she doesn't know is it's her will. I've changed it and left everything to me. She signs it, passes away a couple weeks later. We're at the lawyer's office trying to figure out who gets what. And surprise, surprise, it all comes to me. And you're like, whoa, time out. There's no way. It was 50-50. And I'm like, well, I mean, you can look at it. It's mom's signature. And if you read it, what mom signed, it says it all comes to me. You could sue me for probate. And that's where you would have to prove like I did something like tort, wrongful or hurtful, like I lied. I got her to sign something. Then you could like prove like this is what you've done during all these years and this is what I've never done and there's no way I get it all and stuff like that. And unfortunately, you know, it sounds kind of crazy, but people get greedy, and especially when people die, and maybe you've seen it or heard about it and stuff, and people want more. They want more money than someone else, or a house or a car, or this or that, and they start suing and it gets nasty. So that's a bigger thing than you'd probably realize, unfortunately. Consumer, that's when you buy something. So like you buy a car and they didn't tell you that such and such happened to it, and so you want to get a refund and they won't let you, and then you sue them or something like that. So consumers, when you buy something and you try and, you know, something didn't go right, so you have to like sue them to get your money back or something like that. All right, so let's go through the steps in the civil trial. So the first step is that the person has to complain. Here's the easy way to remember this: plaintiff, complain. Plaintiff, complain. See that? P-L-A-I-N. So the plaintiff is the one doing the complaining. It's the same word in both words. So the plaintiff files the complaint. So in the instance of the tree, that's always my favorite one to go to. I file a complaint saying that you were at fault for the damage to my car. You should pay for it. And that's like the lawsuit basically that I'm starting. So the complaint is the statement that names the plaintiff and the defendant, names me, the plaintiff, you, the defendant, it's your fault, your tree, your house, and describes the lawsuit, like describes why I'm suing you. Then there's a summons. So the defendant would be sent a summons. So in our case, you would get a summons. Again, I think it comes like from a sheriff, not just in the mail, because they don't want you to be like, oh, I never saw it. That's weird. Like somebody puts it in your hands like, hey, you're being sued. Here's the time and place and date you need to go to court. So you can't just be like, I didn't know. Because again, it's going to say, you know, that you're being sued and set a date for the trial. And again, if you don't go to a trial, like that's a huge deal. Failure to appear in court is a big, big deal. So the first step is that the plaintiff complains. I complain about, you know, you should pay me for my car. You're sent a summons. Third step is an answer. You're going to answer it. You're either going to say, like, that never happened. There was never a tree. She ran it into a brick wall and she's crazy and she's lying. Or you're going to say, you're going to answer and say, it did happen, but I'm not responsible. Like, yeah, that tree fell on her car and I get it and it stinks and I hate it for her, but like, it's not my fault. I didn't go out there and like push a tree on her car. Like, that's not me. So the person either says that, or sometimes they admit to the charges and it stops right there. But again, rarely that happens, right? But they admit to the charges, or they say it never happened, or they say they're not responsible or something like that. So the lawyers get all this together, the complaint and the answer, and they put it together into a case. That's the pleadings. Me saying what happened and why you owe me, you saying why it's not your fault, why you don't owe me. And then again, you got that pretrial period, which is known as discovery here. So lawyers check facts, they gather evidence, they question witnesses. And if the case looks dumb, they might, you know, decide to like stop it or something like that. They could be like, you know, Ms. Parnell, it really does not look like we're going to get anywhere with this. Like, I'm sorry your car got messed up, but it really doesn't look like that person did anything. You know, you could be wasting your time. Here's the thing in a civil case. The loser, like if I'm the complainant and I lose at the end of this, I complain and I sue you about your tree falling on my car, and I lose at the end, not only am I still out like the $2,000 damage for my car that I have to pay somehow if I want to drive, but I'm also out my lawyer fees, your lawyer fees, court costs. If I work and I had to take money off work, or you did, like I'm out a lot of money. And they do this because they know that anyone can sue anyone. Like, let's be real. All it has to be is for more than 20 bucks. So if you borrow my shoes and scuff them up, I could sue you, right? Like, you see what I'm saying? Because my shoes are worth more than 20 bucks. So they know that there's like a million billion reasons why anyone could sue anyone. I could sue you for looking at me weird. I could say, you look at me weird. It hurts my feelings. I go to therapy. I pay $100 every other week to talk to a therapist. I want you to pay my $600 therapy bill because you look at me weird. You could sue anyone for anything. Does that mean you're going to win? Absolutely not. Okay. And people sue for crazy reasons. But they don't want everyone suing everyone for any time there's a dispute more than $20, because that would be insane and the legal system would not be able to handle it. So they say, if you sue someone, you lose, you have to pay for everything. So I have to think in my head here, I really want to get that $2,000 for my car. I really think it's your fault, right? But I have to think, like, if they don't pick me, if I don't win, I'm still out my $2,000, and I'm going to be out a couple more $1,000 because that's how much lawyers and court costs and court fees and all that, and not going to work for a week. That's how much all that costs. Like, all of a sudden, my $2,000 bill is going to turn into a $4,000 bill, and have to think about, is that worth it? So a lot of times when they're doing this, they try and get them to drop the case. And actually, believe it or not, most civil cases do get dropped. They don't go to trial because there's that worry in the back of your head of like, if I lose, it's going to be a lot. Am I prepared to pay that? You know what I'm saying? It's not just like I lose and I don't get the money and I'm like, and I walk away. Like, I lose and I don't get the money and I have to pay someone a lot of money. Well, I'm already out a lot of money. If I had $2,000, I would have fixed my car and not been here suing you. You know, I ain't got $2,000 and I got to pay a couple more $1,000s in court costs. Well, I ain't got that either. And now I'm really messed up. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what they think. So a lot of cases, they drop it here. Some other times they'll do a settlement. So you and I are both kind of nervous, right? Like, you really think like, man, Miss Parnell could really prove that it was my fault, even though I don't think it was my fault the tree fell. Miss Parnell could really prove it. And what if I have to pay her all this money? Crap, I don't have $2,000. Like, what am I going to do if the judge says I have to pay it? I'm sitting over here sweating, thinking, what if I don't prove my case? I'm out $2,000 plus all this other stuff. So usually it's kind of interesting. Both sides are usually not very confident in a civil case because you'll see in a minute, you only have to be more right than wrong. You only have to be 50.1. Remember how a minute ago you had to be like 99.99% sure to convict the person? Not in civil. In civil, you just have to be more sure than not. So if you're like 50-50, but you're like 50.1 and you're like 49.9, well, then that person, the 50.1, wins. So you could be like neck and neck. And it's sometimes hard to see who's going to win a civil case because they are so neck and neck. And you're like, what's going to happen? So a lot of times they settle. So if they don't just fizzle out, they usually settle. I mean, the majority of cases that go to trial in a civil case is like super small. And so we might settle and say, all right, look, our lawyers talk, we talk, say, look, you say, all right, Ms. Parnell, I get maybe part of it was my fault because it was my tree. I'll pay you $1,000. But, you know, really part of it was your fault because you're the dummy who parked under a tree in a tornado watch night. You know what I'm saying, Ms. Parnell? Like, you knew there was going to be bad storms. Why wouldn't you put your car in the garage? You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of your fault too. So let's just meet in the middle. I pay $1,000, you pay $1,000. Most times they do take the settlement because, again, it's better than nothing. I'm about to go to trial. This guy's about to give me $1,000. Would I rather have two? Absolutely. But is $1,000 good? It's good. And what if I don't take the $1,000 and again I lose and now I got to pay the $2,000 to get my car fixed and all the court fees? Whew, I'm gonna be wishing I just took that $1,000 instead of now owing somebody $4,000 or $5,000. You know what I'm saying? So most people they do settlements. So most cases are settled and they avoid going to trial. Both parties agree on an amount of money that the defendant will pay the plaintiff, and it's usually like meeting in the middle. You can do something called small claims court. That is your Judge Judy's and your Judge Joe Brown's and your People's Court and all those little things you see on TV where there's like 2 cases in a 30-minute show. It's when there's no lawyers, there's no jury. That's why the people just come in and talk to the judge. And you just talk. It's small claims court. You just tell your side. They tell your side. The judge asks a couple questions. You answer. They ask a couple questions. They answer. Judge makes a decision. Now, that's more scary because remember, convincing 12 people like in a criminal case, that's kind of like, that makes you feel better. Like, there's no way all 12 of them that are very different people are going to think I'm doing it. And 12 of them all have to be 100% sure. You see what I'm saying? It's hard to get a conviction in a criminal case. But in a civil case, it's just one person, just the judge. And all you got to do is convince that one person to be a little bit more than not. That's pretty easy to do. Like, if you had to convince me of something, like, and there's 2 people and you don't, and you're both saying like neck and neck stories, like, you don't know what I'm going to say, you know, and that could scare you because I could go with him, I could go with you, you know, that type of thing. So it's kind of interesting, but that's small claims court. Sometimes people use mediators or arbitrators to like work out an agreement. A lot of times this happens with like divorce, child custody, stuff like that. They kind of work out a plan or whatever. But you can go to trial. If they go to trial, both sides present their argument to a judge. And like I said, they only have to present what they call a preponderance of evidence, which means more than not. And more than not could be as small as 50.1 to 49.9. Now, it could be like 75% leaning with this guy, only 25% leaning with that guy. Well, yeah, I'm going to say he's the winner. You know, it could be like that, but you never know. Then the judge delivers the verdict. You can ask for a jury if you want. It just kind of depends if you get in stuff. So they consider the case, they decide on a verdict. If the plaintiff wins, so if I'm suing you for $2,000 to get my car fixed and I win, a remedy is set. Now the judge may look at the damage to my car and be like, Ms. Parnell, I agree with you. It's 100% that person's fault. They need to pay you for your car damage, but let's be real, that's not $2,000 worth of damage. That's only $1,500. That's only $1,000 worth of damage. So while you win, Ms. Parnell, and they have to pay you, they're not going to pay you more than it's worth. So, I rule in favor of Ms. Parnell, and the defendant has to pay the plaintiff $1,000, $1,200, $1,500, whatever it is. So that's a remedy. So again, you can sue for any amount of money. Just know that judges are fair, and they're not going to make the person pay for something way more. Like damage really wasn't $2,000. I'm not going to make money and profit off of you. If the defendant wins, just like I said, if I'm the plaintiff and I go through all this and I lose, then I kind of wasted everyone's time, effort, energy, money, the court, and their way of kind of deterring me from doing that or showing other people like, don't do this, don't waste our time, because if you do, not only do you not get nothing, but now you have to pay court costs for both sides, if there was lawyer fees, all this kind of stuff. So now it just turned into some big expense. And again, the last thing, the losing party may appeal because, again, someone lost. They're not happy they lost. They don't think they should have been the loser. They think, I don't think that I should have lost. I think you should have paid me for my car, so I'm going to appeal. Or you don't think you should have to pay me for my car. You think it's dumb. You're going to appeal. That type of thing. So sometimes it takes a while with appeals, years. It's like a tedious process, and plaintiffs have to wait years before seeing any money and stuff like that. So that's kind of a downside. All right, that's it for the law notes. See you guys later. Bye.